the good, solid research on effective meetings has turned up some interesting things that aren't as obvious, I think, as have an agenda, stick to it, deal with dysfunctional behavior. Some conclusions from the research that are a bit below the surface, but turn out to be, I think, pretty powerful. One is that participants' evaluations of meetings, their feelings about meetings, are a strong facet of their overall feeling about their work and their overall job. So meeting satisfaction relates very closely to job satisfaction. And part of what that suggests is that if my meetings are really good, and interestingly, in organizations with leaders where the meetings are really perceived as very effective, accomplishing something, people are not negative about their meetings. They even welcome more such constructive meetings, believe it or not. So if a good meeting is an important component of my overall job satisfaction, unfortunately, the same thing is true about bad meetings. And that is, if I experience my meetings as a waste of time, unproductive, that can have an influence on my job satisfaction. They're very closely correlated, more so than you might imagine. So the impact of the meeting is not bounded by or limited to the meeting itself. It extends to other attitudes about the organization in general. In terms of the negative impact of dysfunctional meetings, meetings that are perceived as a waste of time, one of the not so obvious conclusions is that if you look at employees, look at associates, participants, as a function of their personality characteristics, there is a dominant theoretical framework of personality in psychology these days called the 5-factor model. One of the factors is conscientiousness. And conscientiousness as a factor in personality includes achievement orientation, achievement striving. Individuals who are highest in conscientiousness have been shown to be most negatively impacted by a dysfunctional meeting. So the very people that are the backbone of your company, the hardworking individuals, the ones that strive for success, they're the ones most turned off by a meeting that wastes their time and keeps them from being productive in other ways. One more really interesting, I think, and this is an area of research that I've been engaged in. There is a phenomenon called surface acting. And surface acting has been studied a lot in service industries, hotels, restaurants, customer service departments of companies. Surface acting refers to the fact that in those kinds of customer service roles, one has to suppress one's own emotions and always be happy and friendly and supportive and welcoming and not take it personally if a customer's upset and so on. And that surface acting extracts a kind of an emotional toll. It pulls the person's battery down. We began to look at the issue of surface acting as a potential variable in the meeting context. And it turns out that participants in meetings are prone to surface act, especially if the boss is leading the meeting and or if the boss or a highly placed individual is part of the meeting. And the form that it takes is looking engaged and acting like this is really a good meeting. We're really accomplishing a lot when in fact we may not be, with the emotional toll that carries with it. And to support our initial findings, we went back and took a look at when we could make the assessment, leaders' assessment of the effectiveness of a given meeting compared to participants' assessment of the effectiveness of the meeting. Leaders are prone to see their meetings as much more effective than the participants are. So you can see how that would work if the participants are thinking, this is really a waste of my time, but the boss's boss is running the meeting. I'm very prone, non-verbally and otherwise, to act much more engaged than I actually am. So we're beginning in a very preliminary way to look at some of the strategies that leaders can use to close the gap between their perceptions and the actual perceptions of their participants. And it can be as simple as creating a comfortable environment in which we can, let's say for regular recurring meetings, set meetings, we can at times, in a comfortable, non-jeopardy way, give feedback about the effectiveness of the meeting. How effective was the meeting? Did we achieve our results? What could we have done to make it more effective? And it may be valuable initially to do that kind of feedback in a written, non-signed, de-identified way. Over a period of time, a group may come to the point where they can give that feedback face-to-face, but that can help closed the gap between what I think is a whiz-bang home run meeting and what my participants think is we didn't get to those issues and we're 3 minutes over.